En el dinámico mundo de la enseñanza de inglés, los maestros siempre han sido la guía clave para el desarrollo de los estudiantes. Pero, ¿qué sucede cuando abrazamos el cambio y nos abrimos a nuevas posibilidades? El mundo está evolucionando rápidamente y la educación debe seguir el ritmo de esta transformación. La tecnología se convierte en la herramienta que desbloquea el potencial de cada estudiante, permitiéndoles explorar y aprender de maneras nunca antes imaginadas. Las distancias se reducen y las conexiones se fortalecen. En ese contexto tan cambiante, el aula física y el espacio digital se fusionan de manera innovadora, expandiendo las oportunidades de aprendizaje. Pensando en quienes valoran la capacitación y mejora constante de sus clases, SBS Librería Internacional presenta cada año el Tdc, un evento académico dirigido exclusivamente a docentes de inglés. Con la participación de destacados speakers nacionales e internacionales, representando renombradas instituciones ligadas al mundo educativo. A todos los maestros que construyen el futuro una lección a la vez, les decimos, bienvenidos al Tdc.
Good afternoon to all the teachers attending the Teaching Development Conference TDC 2024 Piura, organized by SBS Librería Internacional en Ibna Región Grau. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this new edition where we come together once again through a hybrid format, utilizing tools that connect colleagues from various parts of our country. On behalf of SBS Librería Internacional en Ibna Piura, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for your participation in this event. We remain committed to the continuous improvement of virtual education, striving to adapt to our realities and enhance both virtual and face-to-face classes with remarkable tools. Now, we would like to extend a special recognition to our organizer, SBS Librería Internacional. SBS has the great opportunity to be in contact with the best publishers in the world, and this makes it possible for us to bring together in a single event some of the best international specialists representing their publishers and institutions, bringing with them knowledge that has been developed in different parts of the world, and to apply it successfully in our English teaching here in our schools, institutes, universities, cities, and countries. Without further ado, I invite you to join me in watching the following video. Let's go, team!
Durante 28 años, SBS, Librería Internacional, ha sido el pilar de la educación y el aprendizaje de idiomas extranjeros en el Perú. Nuestra destacada trayectoria y firme compromiso nos han permitido establecer alianzas con editoriales de renombre mundial, como Oxford University Press, Pearson, Cambridge, National Geographic Learning, Penguin Random House, Planeta, entre otras. Además de contar con nuestro propio sello, SBS Editorial, estas colaboraciones nos capacitan para ofrecer una selección sin igual de títulos, que abarcan desde textos académicos especializados hasta las últimas novedades literarias. Con 15 librerías en las principales ciudades del país y una plataforma en línea que extiende nuestro alcance a nivel nacional e internacional, no solo proporcionamos contenidos, sino que también brindamos una experiencia personalizada en cada compra. Nuestra oferta incluye una amplia variedad de recursos en enseñanza de idiomas, ciencias sociales, literatura, infantil, negocios, diseñados para estudiantes, docentes y apasionados del conocimiento. Con el programa SBS Más Educación, nos especializamos en la capacitación de docentes de idiomas. Colaboramos con figuras reconocidas en la enseñanza de idiomas para ofrecer formación avanzada en metodologías pedagógicas. Nuestro enfoque no solo mejora la enseñanza de los idiomas, sino que también abre puertas a un mundo de oportunidades, Capacitamos a educadores para que a su vez puedan preparar a sus alumnos para el futuro. Contamos con una variedad de programas, como ELT Training Sessions y el Tdc Teaching Development Conference, que abarcan tanto formaciones presenciales como capacitaciones virtuales. En SBS, Librería Internacional, creemos firmemente que la educación y la cultura son fundamentales para una sociedad próspera. Nos esforzamos por impulsar un cambio positivo y construir un futuro lleno de posibilidades para el Perú y el mundo.
IBNA Región Grau, with more than 33 years of experience, has established itself as a leading institution in the teaching of English and cultural promotion in Tumbes and Piura, with branches in Sullana and Talara, and study groups in Paita, Chulucanas, and Sechura. In recent years, it has successfully implemented in-person, virtual, and hybrid teaching, which has allowed it to reach more students and strengthen its connection with the community. With a focus on innovation and commitment, IBNA Región Grau continues to transform lives through education and culture, reaffirming its role as an educational benchmark in the region.
IBNA Región Grau es un instituto dedicado a la enseñanza del inglés y a la difusión de las culturas peruana y americana desde hace 3 décadas. Cuenta con los mejores equipos humano y técnico. Desde el 1 de agosto de 1991, IBNA Región Grau se ha convertido en un referente de la enseñanza del idioma inglés en los departamentos de Piura y Tumbes. Actualmente, nuestros estudiantes reciben sus clases en modalidad presencial, virtual e híbrida, donde se cuenta con 2 modernos edificios, además de 2 filiales en Sullana y Talara, grupos de estudio en Tumbes, Paita, Chulucanas y Sechura.
Studying English at IBNA changed my life. You have done an amazing job.
El mundo ha cambiado y hemos evolucionado brindando nuestro servicio bajo las 3 modalidades sin perder la calidad de enseñanza que nos caracteriza. Somos reconocidos como un American Space por el Departamento de Estado de los Estados Unidos. Tenemos el reconocimiento y respaldo de ABLA, Asociación de Centros Binacionales en Latinoamérica. La calidad de enseñanza es nuestra prioridad y nuestro compromiso es que aprendas el inglés en un entorno cultural, actual, dinámico y con muchos valores. El inglés es el único idioma que compartimos y donde concentramos todo nuestro esfuerzo para poder brindar las mejores clases. Como centro autorizado CAMLA de la Universidad de Michigan, certificamos el nivel de nuestros estudiantes internacionalmente de acuerdo al marco común europeo.
Thank you very much, team. Now I'd like to explain how the certificates of attendance for this event will be issued. If you haven't yet registered for the conference, please take a moment to do so now using the registration link provided in the comments box or the video description. Make sure to enter your email address carefully to ensure you receive your certificate without any issues. Very good. To begin, I would like to thank Pearson for the participation in this event. Pearson is a global leader in learning. It has an extensive portfolio designed to cater to different audiences. Its programs and solutions go beyond textbooks. It offers a comprehensive portfolio of assessments and certifications that enrich the learning process. Pearson operates in 200 countries and has more than 20,000 employees around the world. At Pearson, we create vibrant and enriching learning experiences designed to make real life impact. So let's find out a bit more about Pearson with this video. Let's go, team.
At Pearson, we help people master the English language, making ambitions of education, moving to a new country, or career progression a reality. That's why we offer engaging learning experiences that suit everyone. In school, at work, at home, on mobile, laptop, or even a VR headset. This year, we'll be launching a new user interface and features for Monly, complete with a new look and feel. We'll be tapping into a large market by launching a new mid-stakes English certification. And we've already issued more than 3,000 Credly badges for our certifications. We're also working on game-changing enhancements across our world-class platforms. We're using global scale of English benchmarks to give learners instant scores and feedback across speaking and writing exercises. We're piloting a conversational AI platform to support learners' practice anytime, anywhere. Plus, we're already top 10 in the Oculus Store. And now, we're developing a new immersive world that will allow learners to connect and practice their language skills. At Pearson, we're helping build proficiency and confidence, one learner at a time, so anyone can be themselves in English.
Durante 28 años, SBS, Librería Internacional, ha sido el pilar de la educación y el aprendizaje de idiomas extranjeros en el Perú. Nuestra destacada trayectoria y firme compromiso nos han permitido establecer alianzas con editoriales de renombre mundial, como Oxford University Press, Pearson, Cambridge, National Geographic Learning, Penguin Random House, Planeta, entre otras. Además de contar con nuestro propio sello, SBS Editorial, estas colaboraciones nos capacitan para ofrecer una selección sin igual de títulos, que abarcan desde textos académicos especializados hasta las últimas novedades literarias. Con 15 librerías en las principales ciudades del país y una plataforma en línea que extiende nuestro alcance a nivel nacional e internacional, no solo proporcionamos contenidos, sino que también brindamos una experiencia personalizada en cada compra. Nuestra oferta incluye una amplia variedad de recursos en enseñanza de idiomas, ciencias sociales, literatura, infantil, negocios, diseñados para estudiantes, docentes y apasionados del conocimiento. Con el programa SBS Más Educación, nos especializamos en la capacitación de docentes de idiomas. Colaboramos con figuras reconocidas en la enseñanza de idiomas para ofrecer formación avanzada en metodologías pedagógicas. Nuestro enfoque no solo mejora la enseñanza de los idiomas, sino que también abre puertas a un mundo de oportunidades. Capacitamos a educadores para que a su vez puedan preparar a sus alumnos para el futuro. Contamos con una variedad de programas, como ELT Training Sessions y el Tdc Teaching Development Conference, que abarcan tanto formaciones presenciales como capacitaciones virtuales. En SBS, Librería Internacional, creemos firmemente que la educación y la cultura son fundamentales para una sociedad próspera. Nos esforzamos por impulsar un cambio positivo y construir un futuro lleno de posibilidades para el Perú y el mundo. Durante 28 años, SBS, Librería Internacional, ha sido el pilar de la educación y el aprendizaje de idiomas extranjeros en el Perú. Nuestra destacada trayectoria y firme compromiso nos han permitido establecer alianzas con editoriales de renombre mundial, como Oxford University Press, Pearson, Cambridge, National Geographic Learning, Penguin Random House, Planeta, entre otras. Además de contar con nuestro propio sello, SBS Editorial, estas colaboraciones nos capacitan para ofrecer una selección sin igual de títulos, que abarcan desde textos académicos especializados hasta las últimas novedades literarias. Con 15 librerías en las principales ciudades del país y una plataforma en línea que extiende nuestro alcance a nivel nacional e internacional, no solo proporcionamos contenidos, sino que también brindamos una experiencia personalizada en cada compra. Nuestra oferta incluye una amplia variedad de recursos en enseñanza de idiomas, ciencias sociales, literatura, infantil, negocios, diseñados para estudiantes, docentes y apasionados del conocimiento. Con el programa SBS Más Educación, nos especializamos en la capacitación de docentes de idiomas. Colaboramos con figuras reconocidas en la enseñanza de idiomas para ofrecer formación avanzada en metodologías pedagógicas. Nuestro enfoque no solo mejora la enseñanza de los idiomas, sino que también abre puertas a un mundo de oportunidades. Capacitamos a educadores para que a su vez puedan preparar a sus alumnos para el futuro. Contamos con una variedad de programas, como ELT Training Sessions y el Tdc Teaching Development Conference, que abarcan tanto formaciones presenciales como capacitaciones virtuales. En SBS Librería Internacional creemos firmemente que la educación y la cultura son fundamentales para una sociedad próspera. Nos esforzamos por impulsar un cambio positivo y construir un futuro lleno de posibilidades para el Perú y el mundo.
En el dinámico mundo de la enseñanza de inglés, los maestros siempre han sido la guía clave para el desarrollo de los estudiantes. Pero, ¿qué sucede cuando abrazamos el cambio y nos abrimos a nuevas posibilidades? El mundo está evolucionando rápidamente y la educación debe seguir el ritmo de esta transformación. La tecnología se convierte en la herramienta que desbloquea el potencial de cada estudiante, permitiéndoles explorar y aprender de maneras nunca antes imaginadas. Las distancias se reducen y las conexiones se fortalecen. En este contexto tan cambiante, el aula física y el espacio digital se fusionan de manera innovadora, expandiendo las oportunidades de aprendizaje. Pensando en quienes valoran la capacitación y mejora constante de sus clases, SBS Librería Internacional presenta cada año el Tdc, un evento académico dirigido exclusivamente a docentes de inglés. Con la participación de destacados speakers nacionales e internacionales, representando renombradas instituciones ligadas al mundo educativo. A todos los maestros que construyen el futuro una lección a la vez, les decimos, bienvenidos al Tdc.
La Región Grau es un instituto dedicado a la enseñanza del inglés y a la difusión de las culturas peruana y americana desde hace 3 décadas. Cuenta con los mejores equipos humano y técnico. Desde el 1 de agosto de 1991, IGNA Región Grau se ha convertido en un referente de la enseñanza del idioma inglés en los departamentos de Piura y Tumbes. Actualmente, nuestros estudiantes reciben sus clases en modalidad presencial, virtual e híbrida, donde se cuenta con 2 modernos edificios, además de 2 filiales en Sullana y Talara, grupos de estudio en Tumbes, Paita, Chulucanas y Sechura.
Studying English at IBNA changed my life. You have done an amazing job.
El mundo ha cambiado y hemos evolucionado brindando nuestro servicio bajo las 3 modalidades sin perder la calidad de enseñanza que nos caracteriza. Somos reconocidos como un American Space por el Departamento de Estado de los Estados Unidos. Tenemos el reconocimiento y respaldo de ABLA, Asociación de Centros Binacionales en Latinoamérica. La calidad de enseñanza es nuestra prioridad y nuestro compromiso es que aprendas el inglés en un entorno cultural, actual, dinámico y con muchos valores. El inglés es el único idioma que compartimos y donde concentramos todo nuestro esfuerzo para poder brindar las mejores clases. Como Centro Autorizado CAMLA de la Universidad de Michigan, certificamos el nivel de nuestros estudiantes internacionalmente de acuerdo al marco común europeo.
Durante 28 años, SBS, Librería Internacional, ha sido el pilar de la educación y el aprendizaje de idiomas extranjeros en el Perú. Nuestra destacada trayectoria y firme compromiso nos han permitido establecer alianzas con editoriales de renombre mundial, como Oxford University Press, Pearson, Cambridge, National Geographic Learning, Penguin Random House, Planeta, entre otras. Además de contar con nuestro propio sello, SBS Editorial, estas colaboraciones nos capacitan para ofrecer una selección sin igual de títulos, que abarcan desde textos académicos especializados hasta las últimas novedades literarias. Con 15 librerías en las principales ciudades del país y una plataforma en línea que extiende nuestro alcance a nivel nacional e internacional, no solo proporcionamos contenidos, sino que también brindamos una experiencia personalizada en cada compra. Nuestra oferta incluye una amplia variedad de recursos en enseñanza de idiomas, ciencias sociales, literatura, infantil, negocios, diseñados para estudiantes, docentes y apasionados del conocimiento. Con el programa SBS Más Educación, nos especializamos en la capacitación de docentes de idiomas. Colaboramos con figuras reconocidas en la enseñanza de idiomas para ofrecer formación avanzada en metodologías pedagógicas. Nuestro enfoque no solo mejora la enseñanza de los idiomas, sino que también abre puertas a un mundo de oportunidades. Capacitamos a educadores para que a su vez puedan preparar a sus alumnos para el futuro. Contamos con una variedad de programas, como ELT Training Sessions y el Tdc Teaching Development Conference, que abarcan tanto formaciones presenciales como capacitaciones virtuales. En SBS Librería Internacional creemos firmemente que la educación y la cultura son fundamentales para una sociedad próspera. Nos esforzamos por impulsar un cambio positivo y construir un futuro lleno de posibilidades para el Perú y el mundo.
En el dinámico mundo de la enseñanza de inglés, los maestros siempre han sido la guía clave para el desarrollo de los estudiantes. Pero, ¿qué sucede cuando abrazamos el cambio y nos abrimos a nuevas posibilidades? El mundo está evolucionando rápidamente y la educación debe seguir el ritmo de esta transformación. La tecnología se convierte en la herramienta que desbloquea el potencial de cada estudiante, permitiéndoles explorar y aprender de maneras nunca antes imaginadas. Las distancias se reducen y las conexiones se fortalecen. En ese contexto tan cambiante, el aula física y el espacio digital se fusionan de manera innovadora, expandiendo las oportunidades de aprendizaje. Pensando en quienes valoran la capacitación y mejora constante de sus clases, SBS Librería Internacional presenta cada año el Tdc, un evento académico dirigido exclusivamente a docentes de inglés. Con la participación de destacados speakers nacionales e internacionales, representando renombradas instituciones ligadas al mundo educativo. A todos los maestros que construyen el futuro una lección a la vez, les decimos, bienvenidos al Tdc.
Okay, dear audience. Well, Nancy Reeves unfortunately has had an emergency. Please receive her apologies. However, on behalf of Pearson, I'd like to introduce the first speaker of this event, the renowned consultant Andrés Becerra, with the topic Transforming Language Learning Integration of AI and Technology in the Classroom. Welcome, Andrés Becerra.
Let me see. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Carlos. Can you hear me? Say eyes. Could you confirm if you can hear me? Oh, yes. Okay, thank you, Elsa. So welcome to this presentation. Thank you so much for such introduction. My name is Andres Becerra. I am an academic consultant for Pearson, Colombia, and Ecuador. And today I am here in this presentation with you guys. Thank you so much for this invitation. I am being honored by being here with you. And I want to see if we have, well, how many people we have today in this session. Is there a way to see the people who are registered? I don't think so. Okay, so I'll be reading your posts on the chat box if you have questions about this presentation, and thank you so much for joining this presentation today. So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me one sec. I think sharing screen. Very good. There we go. So please confirm if you can see my screen in this moment. I think you can. I see my own screen, so I think you can do it. Okay, so as it was mentioned before, transforming language learning, integration of AI and technology to boost up productivity. But you know what? I'm going to share more websites. So I'm going to change the settings. So you can see all my screen, you can see all my windows. Because I think it's important you can also see my browser here. Okay, so, well, so I think you can see it now, right? I don't know if you're seeing my screen. Oh yeah, you're doing it. Nice. Okay, so once again, welcome. My name is Andres Becerra, and let's go ahead and start. So I want to start this presentation by showing you guys these two different pictures. You can see two pictures, one on the left, one on the right. These two pictures have different backgrounds and perhaps different contexts. I wonder if you can go to the chat box and participate, and I'd like you to go there to the chat box and describe the two pictures, or you can go and post your comments on what do you think about these two pictures. If you want to describe the one on the left or the one on the right, you want to speak a little bit about these two pictures, that would be great. I'm going to give you 1 minute to go to the chat box and post your comments on those two pictures. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any comment about the pictures. How can I see if we have people here in this session? Well, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Well, just while people post, so in these two pictures, we have two different contexts. So in the picture on the left, we can see a student. She seems to be in a classroom with some students in the classroom. We can see in the background that there is a teacher. Maybe they are some sort of a reading activity or in some sort of reading assessment or something. She seems to be reading a book, but she doesn't look like she's having fun, but she's bored instead. And also there is a particular aspect in that picture, and it's black and white. So it gives us the impression that it's an old picture, or maybe it's a situation that is not that enjoyable. Whereas on the right, we have a girl. She seems to be at home. She has a laptop on her lap, and she's sitting in what seems to be her living room. And she looks like she's enjoying what she's doing. She's wearing earbuds, so maybe she is having a video call with a person on the other side of a screen. And in the background, we see sort of a website or a platform with some instructions or a lesson. So these are two different contexts that we can have in the school nowadays. And these are two different contexts to which our students are exposed nowadays. So on the one side, we have a very traditional setting in the classroom, but in the other side, we have those children that are able to study from home or maybe at a school with different tools and resources, like incorporating technology. So if it is about, reflecting about these two different settings and pictures, uh, we we could speak about a lot of differences and a lot of pros and cons of these two different contexts. However, I just wanted to tell you guys that I created these two pictures with an artificial intelligence that is called Microsoft Designer. And yes, today we will speak about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence can boost up your performance as a teacher. For example, creating these kind of resources or pictures. Have you ever had this situation in which you are spending a lot of time, perhaps minutes or hours, looking for pictures on the internet without succeeding in finding the perfect picture for your class? Well, nowadays you can use artificial intelligence to tailor make all the pictures you want, like these two pictures for this presentation. So today we will talk about artificial intelligence. I will give you a lot of different tools that you can use in the classroom to create not just pictures like this, but just to create a lot of things that you can use with the students, with your students in your classes. Well, let's move on and continue. Oh, just to let you know, guys, absolutely all the pictures you'll see in my presentation today were created with artificial intelligence, okay? So this is just to show you guys that we can have, like in terms of creating things for our students, the sky is the limit. So now, very important, we need to become aware of the importance of integration of technology and AI in our classrooms. This is something that we need to keep in mind and we need to start incorporating in our classes. I know some of the teachers are reluctant to do it, but we need to get acquainted to new technologies in artificial intelligence. But most importantly, we need to ask ourselves in this moment, how much do we do it? How much do we incorporate artificial intelligence in the classroom? And this is a question I want you to wonder. I want you to ask yourselves. And I want you to answer these questions in your mind. How much technology do I incorporate in my class? Not necessarily artificial intelligence, because on the internet, we can find a lot of tools that we can use with our students in the classroom without them being artificial intelligence. But of course, who doesn't know Kahoot, who doesn't know Bamboozle or Warwool? I'm pretty sure you have used them once in your classes. But today, I'm going to show you really interesting tools and new tools that you can use with your students. I want to bring 3 questions to this presentation. Number 1, how often did you use technology in the classroom? Number 2, how do you feel about incorporating AI? And also, I want you to ask yourself, what AIs do you know? What AI tools do you know? As to the first question, how often do I use technology in my classroom? Well, I have to say that before I designed this presentation for my teachers, I didn't know many artificial intelligence tools. However, I did my research and I went on the internet and I spent hours looking for a lot of tools. And these are the tools I'm sharing today. So nowadays I could say that I use artificial intelligence very often in my job. How do I feel about incorporating AI? Well, I feel pretty confident. I don't consider myself a tech savvy, but I think I know a lot of different tools and I know how to use them, both in my classes and also in my administrative tasks. And is that today I'm going to speak about how to take advantage of artificial intelligence in your administrative tasks as teachers. And also, what artificial intelligence do I know? Well, I have to say that I know many, at least 40, because today I'm going to share with you all those 40 artificial intelligence that you can use. Plus, I'm going to give you a plus at the end of this presentation. I'm going to tell you about a very nice tool that we have at Pearson that is called Mondly. Okay, so we will wrap it up speaking about Mondly, and I'll give you some information about that. See if we have people in the chat just posting comments. So guys, remember you can go to the chat box and you can post your questions. You can post your comments there on the presentation and whatnot. There was a study carried out in the US in 2023 called the State of AI Education. It was carried out by Carnegie Learning, that is an educational organization. And in this study, they found out a lot of important information about artificial intelligence in the classroom. There was a number of 799 teachers who were interviewed for this study. And from that interview, they came up to some conclusions. And one of those were these: what are the most important benefits from AI according to those teachers who were interviewed? And from those 499, it was 799 teachers who were interviewed, 42% said that they are using AI, and they found one of the biggest benefits that they found from AI is the reduction of time spent on administrative tasks. And is that this is the most important thing, and is what I'm going to talk about today, and is how artificial intelligence can improve our administrative tasks and can make it productive in less time. 25% of the teachers said that with artificial intelligence, they could personalize their learning experiences. 18% out of those 799 teachers said that they could improve the student engagement. So by using artificial intelligence, their students were more engaged with the activities that they proposed. 17% of the students said that they enhance the students' learning outcomes. So using artificial intelligence allowed them to enhance those learning outcomes that were proposed from their curriculum. 17% of the students, I already said that. 6% of the students said that classroom management could be improved with using artificial intelligence, and only 1% of teachers, this interview was carried out with teachers, 1% of teachers said that they found no benefit by using artificial intelligence in the classroom. These are interesting numbers because by analyzing these numbers, we can see that, first of all, a lot of teachers have used artificial intelligence. And second, most of the teachers agree on the fact that artificial intelligence is important for administrative tasks. Just give me one sec. Now, the question today is the following. After all this said, what are some of the tools that we can use in the classroom? Of course, because we're speaking about numbers here. And yeah, we are speaking about studies that were carried out in other contexts, in other countries. But essentially, what are these tools that we can use in the classroom? And most importantly, how to be a more productive teacher by using those tools? Because remember that today, we are speaking about enhancing our productivity as teachers using artificial intelligence. And having said that, I want to show you this website, this amazing website I found on the internet. And if you want, you can take out your phones and you can scan the QR code that you see on your screen so that you can go to the website that's called teach.textbook.com. And I will speak about 40 AI tools for teachers. These 40 AI tools can be found on that website. So I recommend you guys to go and scan the QR code so that you can go there and check it out. You have 5 seconds to scan the code. Okay. Good. Code is scanned. So let's move on. If you go to the website, I'm not doing that today, but I'll tell you guys, please go there and explore the AIs you find there. You will find different AIs divided in different categories, okay? The first category you'll find there is chatbots. And who doesn't know chatbots? For example, ChatGPT, Claude AI, Gemini, for example, these chatbots that are highly regarded and a lot of people use them. And the one we use the most, ChatGPT. But there in the website, teach.textbook.com, you will find more than 5 chatbots that you can use, to do different tasks. And you can go there and explore different. Another category you find on the website is visual and design tools. One example that I've brought today to this presentation is Microsoft Designer, the one with which I designed the first pictures we were analyzing in this presentation, well, you have these different tools that you just give them a prompt and they create the picture you want. And today we are going to do some experimentation with Microsoft Designer. So I'm going to show you how it works. The third category you'll find on that website, you just scan with the QR code, is lesson design and content creation tools. Artificial intelligence that will allow you to design your lessons and to create your content tools for your class. Today, we will talk about one artificial intelligence I love a lot, that is Magic School. Perhaps you have heard of it. But today we will explore it, and I'm gonna show you my favorite feature from that AI. Also, some teaching aids, so artificial intelligence that has been designed especially for teaching. And I'm gonna show you one that is called Chat PDF. Not all people know this tool, but I consider it's one of the most productive tools for us teachers. We also have AIs, which purpose is creating quizzes, assessment generators. Very interesting. We can find some of those also in Magic School. And also collaboration and communication tools that we can also go ahead and explore. As I mentioned before, these 6 categories are present in the website that I just shared with you with the QR code for AI tools for the classroom. Teach that textbook. And if you missed scanning the code, you can go there and scan the code once again if you couldn't do it. I just want to go to the website just for a moment, and I want to show you how the website looks like, and also how you can explore it. Yes, if you go there and you do it by yourselves. Just hold on. How can I go there? I want to open the link. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, it's loading. Okay, while it loads, so let's go back to the presentation. Today, I want to focus on 3 of my favorite AIs. These are AIs that you can find there in the website I shared with you. The number 1 is Microsoft Designer. The second one is Chat PDF, and the third one is Magic School. Let's see if the website loaded. It hasn't, but well. Okay. Microsoft Designer. I'm going to give you a context. This was something that happened to me. By the way, I was in Peru like a month ago. I think it was at the beginning of October. And I visited a school. And in this school, one of the teachers told me that she had spent hours looking for a picture that she wanted to use with her students in one class. This teacher was looking for a picture about, in that class, the teacher was working with vocabulary about food, she was working with the students, learning vocabulary about food. But at the same time, she wanted to teach her students something related to values, something about values. So the teacher was looking at a picture about fruit, but that somehow was related to values, to, good behavior and stuff like that. But sadly, unfortunately, she couldn't find the picture she was looking for. So she had this amazing idea of using Microsoft Designer to create the picture she was looking for. And she went to Microsoft Designer. How can you come here? You just go to the website for AI tools for the classroom, the one I shared with you, and you scroll down. You find a lot of information about different AIs, and you can go and find Microsoft Designer here. You just click on the URL that takes you to the website, and you will go there immediately. Okay. Well, she came to the website. And she just logged in with her Outlook account. So it is important that you keep in mind that you need to have an Outlook account so that you can use the AI. So if you don't have any, you can create one. And then once you create your account, you click on this icon that says create with an AI. So you click on there, and you can go there and click on the link that says, or the option that says images. Then the website takes you to the part of a page where you have to type in the prompt, and you have to tell the AI what you want it to create for you. Yeah? But I was telling you this story of the girl, the teacher. So she told me, Andres, I was looking for a picture showing food, but at the same time, something that showed my student values. So she came into my computer and she typed in a prompt. She asked the artificial intelligence to create a picture of a group of fruits in the fridge, and the fruits were arguing. So she wanted to see a picture with fruits, maybe grapes or bananas or apples. Or remember, she was a primary teacher and she was teaching her students vocabulary about fruits. And then, but she wanted the fruits to be arguing, sort of fighting or something like that. So she typed in the prompt, and the artificial intelligence created that picture for her. So I'm going to show you what's the picture that the AI created for her. As you can see, I have used this tool many times. So I have a lot of pictures here, but this is the picture that she created. Look, this was the prompt that she gave to the artificial intelligence. She wanted the AI to create a bunch of fruits having an argument inside the fridge. She also wrote that this picture would be used with primary students. And this was the picture the AI created. Yeah, so we can see a strawberry kind of arguing with what's that, like a blackberry. And then in the background, we have an apple, and we have what seems to be an orange. They were like, kind of paying attention to what was going on. Yeah. So the teacher was amazed, and she said that she could find a picture to teach vocabulary about fruits, and also to teach something about values, that we are not supposed to have an argument or to argue or fight with people in our family or in our jobs or stuff like that. So we could show absolutely everything she wanted to show by using this picture. I have created a lot of pictures here with this AI, so I invite you guys to come over to use the AI and to explore it by yourself. Let's go to images. Let's create something super fast before we move on to the second tool that I want to show you. It's loading. I think it's my connection. Okay, so here, if you come here, create with an AI, and you click on images, it takes you to this part. And here in the description, you type in the prompt. Yeah, very easy. So let's say I want to create, create a picture of, I don't know, person playing soccer with some animals at the zoo. Let's think about primary. This picture is meant to teach English to primary students, let's say. Playing, yeah, so let's say I want to teach my students vocabulary about animals, but I realize that my students, I missed the H here. I realized my students like soccer, so I want to create something that is attractive and engaging to them. Create a picture of a person playing soccer with some animals at the zoo. This picture is meant to teach English to primary students. Okay, so you type in the prompt. Maybe this prompt is not the best, but I think it might work. So let's go to click on generate. So you hit that button, and then the artificial intelligence starts thinking and starts creating. So when you see these, dots moving around, and actually they move with the pointer. Look, this is interesting. It's because the artificial intelligence is working. And look, I have this one. I really like it. So yeah, I think this one's the best one. So we see the little kid with the football, and is playing soccer with an elephant, a giraffe, and I can see what seems to be a tiger, and small lions. Let's say the sizes are not proportional, but I think it's a good picture. At least I can use it with my students in the classroom. And the back side of a picture, we see a house, a lighthouse, yeah. And well, I really like it. You can download it, you can save it on your computer, and you can use it in your presentations. That's amazing. You have 14 tokens for free if you have the free account. If you have the premium account, the tokens are unlimited. 14 tokens per day. So tomorrow I will have my 15 tokens back. Let's move on with other two tools that I wanted to show you before this presentation comes to an end. The second tool is Chat PDF, and let's go to the Chat PDF and let's explore it. Why did I choose these tools? Because they are the ones I like the most. But remember, on the website, 40 AI tools for the classroom, you can have access to more than 40 AI tools like this. These three tools were taken from there. With Chat PDF, you can just come here and you can have a conversation with a PDF. So how's that? As teachers, we use a lot of PDF documents. And sometimes we have a text we want our students to read, but we need to create a workshop or we need to create some sort of activities with that text. And as I mentioned before, remember that productivity for me as a teacher is a very important thing. And sometimes I don't have time because maybe I have, I don't know, 6, 7 groups, 20 students each. So it's kind of difficult, you know, to sit down and create absolutely all the activities for all my groups. So I can come to Chat PDF and I can just upload a PDF document. I'm going to upload one of my documents that I have on my computer. I have a Little Red Riding Hood PDF here. Little Red Riding Hood. Here it is. So I find the document, I double click on it, and it uploads. So my document is already there. Look, so I upload the document on Chat PDF, and then I can have conversations with the document, which means that I can ask the AI to do whatever I want with the information the document has. For example, I can ask Chat PDF the following question. Please tell me the moral of this story. So if I want to know the moral of the story, and then it tells me the moral of Little Red Riding Hood is to be cautious and heed the advice of trusted adults. The story emphasizes the importance of staying on the right path and being aware of potential dangers. So Little Red Riding Hood's curiosity and disobedience led her into trouble with the wolf. Curiosity and disobedience lead her, this is in present, into trouble with a wolf. Yeah, so it told me the moral, but it could be like sort of general. I can ask it more interesting questions. For example, create a reading quiz for 6th grade students about this story. What else? Include questions about the characters, the moral, some grammar, and vocabulary. Include types of questions. Sorry if I misspell some words. Sometimes typing and speaking is sort of difficult. Include types of questions such as multiple choice, true and false, and I don't know, matching. I don't know. Let's make it kind of challenging for the AI. And then you hit the enter key, and then it is created. Look, Little Red Riding Hood reading quiz, name, date. Part 1, multiple choice. What does Little Red Riding Hood carry to her grandmother? Flowers, cake and wine, basket of fruit, and a book. Who does Little Red Riding Hood meet in the woods? A huntsman, a bear, a wolf, a rabbit. What does the wolf do to trick Little Red Riding Hood? Okay, true and false. Matching. Match the character with the description, Little Red Riding Hood. The character who saves the day, the wolf, the girl who brings food to her grandmother, the huntsman, the villain who tricks the Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, I need to have these options and, like organizing the match activity. Well, the AI doesn't do everything for us, but at least it gives us the questions. Part 4, vocabulary. Part 5, your answer. Now it tells you it gives you the answer key. But now pay attention to this. Tell me the pages where the answers are. Here are the answers along with the corresponding page references from the story. Okay, this is a 4-page document, 5-page document. But if you had a 10-page document, a 20-page document, these prompt is important because it tells you exactly what page of a document has that information. Now, any question that comes to your mind that you'd like to ask ChatPDF about those texts, you can go there, ask for it, and ChatPDF will give you an answer. This is a really good tool for us when we don't have much time to create a quiz or when we have long texts for our students to work. This is a good option. Now, I'm going to show you the last one just real quick because we are running out of time. And the last one is Magic School, the one I wanted to bring today here. Good. Magic School is a tool that gives you a lot of different artificial intelligence resources and features. But the one I like the most, one that generates questions out of YouTube videos. So you can come here, let me look for it. YouTube video questions, you have vocabulary-based texts, text translators, multiple choice quizzes, artificial intelligence to create professional emails, etc. In this one, YouTube video questions, you can go on YouTube and you can look for a video. And then in Magic School, you select the type of students you're working with. Let's suppose, I don't know, fifth grade students. I want a quiz with multiple choice. I want a number of, 7 questions. And here I upload the URL of the video. It's kind of slow, my internet, so I won't open YouTube, but you upload the URL of the video and the artificial intelligence creates a quiz about that video, which URL you posted there. Let's go fast and find one video here about, let me think. Wow, I don't know what kind of videos. Let me see. Let's say this video about Second World War. Second World War. Okay. Let's go and look a video for about Second World War. So we have the video here, a brief overview of World War II. So I click on the video. I want to work this video with my students, so I copy the URL. Then I go to Magic School, and I paste it in the URL, and then I click on Generate. And once I do that, the AI follows my instructions and create the quiz of multiple choice questions about the video. And what's the best thing is that if you scroll down, you see the answer key and exactly the moments in the video in which these answers are provided. So you have absolutely everything. The only thing you have to do is copy and paste, go to your document, paste it, and of course, check that all the information is legit and all the information is accurate. Okay, remember that despite the fact that we are using artificial intelligence to create stuff for our students, we need to double check the information because artificial intelligence ain't perfect. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's continue. Let me close this windows. Good. Now, if I bring this picture here, this picture is amazing, also created with AI, and I see the hand of a person trying to hold a robot's hand. And when I see this picture, I think about a lot of things, but one of the things I think about the most is the concept of balance. Why do I want to bring the concept of balance to this presentation? Because I personally consider that finding a balance between what artificial intelligence can do and what we as humans can do is paramount. This is very important. I want you to ask these questions to yourself. Do you think finding a balance between artificial intelligence and human potential is important? And if so, how would you find that balance? What would you do in order to find that balance between what machines do and what people do? The problem is that if we don't find that balance, the future will be sort of chaotic for us. Maybe if you've seen these movies like I, Robot or Terminator, you might know what I'm talking about. So finding the balance between humans and robots or artificial intelligence or technology or machine, you name it, is of utmost importance. Now, Mike Mayer, Pearson GSC Senior Director, he came to Bogota months ago, and he quoted Asher and Khan 2024, and he brought up this very important quote to his presentation. He said, "We need some balance. There is little evidence that humans are likely to quickly change their learning habits. Even as technology rapidly advances, humans are accustomed to learning from other humans, which means that it doesn't matter how much AI we use to create our stuff, to teach our students. Students will still need from their teacher for them to learn properly. If the teacher is not there present, using tools in order to teach their students, the class won't be the same. But there is only one way to find that balance, and that way to find that balance is teaching soft skills." You might know soft skills. What is soft skills? Soft skills are those skills or tasks that can be performed only by people. These tasks are really hard to automate because they come from within your human essence, and they are put into practice in different settings, especially in the professional settings and the employability settings. Remember that soft skills is a concept that comes from the employability context. Some of the soft skills are time management, communication, adaptability, problem solving, teamwork, and interpersonal skills. And then we have within those categories that I'm presenting here, we have some sub soft skills that we can improve in our students. And is that, of course, you can use artificial intelligence to teach your students time management. But time management, such as, stress management, yes, or for example, adaptability skills such as calmness, self-management, optimism, empathy. These are skills that are only related to human beings. So when we teach our students the potential they have because of the fact that they are human beings, there won't be any artificial intelligence or any technology that replaces us. So we can, find that balance between all the improvements that we are having in technology, and of course the human potential that needs to be explored and needs to be boosted up so that we continue being employable and being useful in society. Why are soft skills relevant? Well, they provide human progression. Both interpersonal and professional progression are growth these aspects of human beings grow up, they grow and improve because of teaching or learning or acquiring soft skills. Also, they provide enhancement to your hard skills. Your hard skills can be complemented, and therefore your personal and professional profile can be enhanced. Soft skills are on demand. So are the artificial intelligence technologies. So that's why I tell you, we need to offer both. We need to become an expert. We need to become experts in both. Soft skills provide self-confidence. Strengthening human faculties increases our self-esteem, thus allowing us to be more confident in our daily interactions. And important, soft skills are hard to automate. AI and machines could have occupied an important role in productivity, but the human essence will hardly be replaced or automated. So that's why I tell you, that's good, guys. Learn about AI, learn about technologies, use them in the classroom, but also teach your students skills of activities that only they can perform as humans. I want to bring here some conclusions. Utilizing tools like learning management systems and AI applications enhances teachers' productivity by automating tasks and organizing materials, of course. Tools such as Microsoft Designer, ChatPDF, and Magic School improve our productivity and allow us to design and tailor more meaningful and engaging activities for our students, but won't ever replace us. But you know what's the only way that they won't ever replace us? Teaching students skills that are inherent, that are just be possibly performed by them as humans. And finally, we need to find a balance between AI and technologies and human faculties. This can be done by teaching soft skills. I don't want to call it a day before having explored one of the AI tools that we at Pearson have that is called Monthly. Monthly is an app that we've designed at Pearson that provides you with a lot of different lessons, and it also provides you with chatbots and also with an artificial intelligence you can interact with. The only thing that you have to do is that you just have to go to the App Store, Google Play Market, or also the iPhone App Store, and you can download there the application. Remember, this is called Monthly. I'm going to show you. Just give me 1 second. This one here. This is called Monthly, and it provides you with a lot of tools that you can use to learn any language. Monthly has more than 42 languages you can explore and you can learn. And of course, for American and British English, you can use Luna, which is our artificial intelligence to practice speaking with. Okay. Monthly is a mobile app that allows us to access micro content and micro lessons, AI chatbots, videos, and multiple features as a solution towards flipped learning and other approaches. You will have main features with Monthly, which means that you have more than 41 languages to practice. Also vocabulary and grammar-based lessons plus quizzes to boost up your learners' reading, writing, listening, and speaking abilities. Over 500 minutes of speaking practice, bite-sized lessons based on real-world situations to learn only what's relevant, designed by world-class linguists, and more than 100 real topics that spark curiosity and keep learners motivated as they improve practical English skills. Remember that with Monthly, you have access to Luna. Speaking about artificial intelligence, you can practice speaking with this AI-powered tool, having AI-powered conversations, thus improving your pronunciation with hands-free quiz and vocabulary-based daily lessons. I invite you to know more about Monthly just going to your app, to your mobile app store and download the tool. Just remember, this is the name, Monthly by Pearson. So I want to know, guys, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments about this presentation, about what I spoke about today. You can go to the chat box and you can just post your questions there. Let me know. No questions. Gustavo, is there any question, any comment? Okay, if no questions, thank you so much for joining. And thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you very much, Andres Becerra. We learned so much. We learned a lot with new tools to use AI and to stop having fear to this artificial intelligence and be friends of them, right? Thank you very much, Andres Becerra. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Well,
You're welcome.
if you let me hear, there is a question for you. Let me read this question.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, Jose Apasa says, hello, great presentation. I would like to know if you happen to have any AI page to detect the usage of AI in writing tasks.
Yeah, this is cool. Turn it in. Turn it in. Yeah, I'm gonna write the name. Turn it in. Turn it in. I think that's the name. Just let me share my screen once again, and let's go to Google and look for it. Google. Okay. Let's come to Google, and this is called Turn It In. Turn it in. This one. Okay. I think they just changed the name, like just on, or maybe just let me see. I think there's another one. Turn it in. Here, this one. By using this one, turn it in, you can just make sure if your students are using any AI. It detects AI with ease. So it is an AI detection tool using cutting edge technology to identify and analyze patterns of artificial intelligence in real time. So what you can do, this is called just on, you just upload the document here, and the artificial intelligence identifies if, for example, ChatGPT was used to create a text. Okay.
Amazing. Pastor Vallejo says, could you please show the QR again?
Of course, I can show the QR again. Let me see. Where is it? Here it is. So this is the QR. I think you can scan it there. Yeah. Hope you enjoy it. Okay. However, I think I can share the presentation with you maybe if you want to access to all the information, so I can send it.
And Eduardo says, how is it important to pronounce well in English?
How is it important to pronounce well in English? I don't understand the question. How is it important to pronounce well in English? I don't get it. How is it important?
I think he's referring to the idea that with using monthly Luna, you can improve pronunciation.
Yes, just remember that with Luna, you can improve your pronunciation. And also Luna gives you feedback if you're not pronouncing any word properly. If you're not pronouncing your statement properly, Luna tells you like, excuse me, I couldn't understand what you said. Could you repeat? And then you have to repeat over and over until she gets your message and she can continue with the conversation. So it challenges the speaker or the user to speak well when interacting with the AI.
Amazing, Andrés Becerra. Thank you so much for this useful information.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks a lot for your invitation. Hope to see you next time.
See you, Andrés Becerra. Well, now let me introduce our next speaker of this event, the renowned consultant Janine Matz, with the topic Teaching of the 4 Skills in a Communicative Framework. Janine did her graduate studies in applied linguistics at the University of Illinois at Chicago, where she also taught Spanish for several years to L2 learners as well as heritage language learners. She has been living in Quito, Ecuador for 12 years, where she has taught English at the Universidad de las Américas and Universidad San Francisco de Quito. She is currently a full professor and researcher of linguistics at the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Ecuador, PUCE, in Quito. She teaches master level courses online and in several Ecuadorian universities as well. Her professional experience also includes being editor-in-chief and author of Tercero de Bachillerato, last year of secondary school, of the English modules for the Ecuadorian Ministry of Education. She is a regular consultant for the United States Peace Corps in Quito and is currently collaborating with Rilo Andes and the U.S. Embassy in Peru, producing webinars for English teachers around Latin America. She has participated in several national and international conferences, as well as published a handful of articles in academic journals. Her research interests include psycholinguistics, language acquisition, language teaching, bilingualism, sociolinguistics, and pragmatics. In her free time, she volunteers with the Fundación Fidal as the creator and administrator of the Facebook page Ecuadorian Public School English Teachers, providing thousands of teachers with a plethora of resources to improve their classroom practices. Welcome to the TDC, Janine.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Good evening. Hello, everybody in Piura, in Peru. Greetings from Quito, Ecuador. We're right next door. We're neighbors, right? So thank you very much for being here this evening. I'm excited to be here. Thank you again for the invitation. Today's topic that I'm going to discuss is related to the 4 skills, right? As we can see here, it says teaching the 4 skills in a communicative framework. So let's get started. Our agenda for today, we're going to do a very, very brief review of a communicative approach. Then we will talk about the skill of listening, followed by the skill of speaking, then the skill of reading, and the skill of writing. We'll finish off with some tips on how to evaluate skills. Okay, I want to start off with a really important phrase or quote. Yeah, this quote is by Dr. Stephen Krashen. And if you have not heard of Dr. Stephen Krashen, teachers, that is your homework for now. Dr. Stephen Krashen is probably the most important name in the field of second language acquisition research that has ever existed. Dr. Krashen is now in his 80s. He still continues to be very active in the field. He has a lot of videos, presentations on YouTube. So if you have free time, look him up. Learn from Dr. Stephen Krashen. Dr. Stephen Krashen says, language is best taught when it is being used to transmit messages, not when it is explicitly taught for conscious learning. And this is something that's really important for us language teachers to keep in mind, because we have almost 50 years, almost half a century of scientific research on how we should teach languages according to how the brain works with languages, right? We have a lot of research on this. Yet for some reason or reasons, we aren't always applying these scientific findings to our classrooms, right? So it's very important that we make that connection between what we know from science and what we do in our classrooms. Okay. That brings us to a communicative approach. And here on the screen, I say, a communicative approach. And I'm sure some of you watching right now say, wait, with the indefinite article, a communicative approach? Isn't it the communicative approach? It was. The communicative approach started somewhere in the 1980s after the natural approach and those things. I'm sure you guys have learned about these in your studies. Now we say a communicative approach because we know that there are several approaches used in teaching, language teaching nowadays that are communicative in nature, right? We have something like project-based learning, task-based learning, right? Content and language integrated learning. These are all communicative in nature. So what is a communicative approach? What constitutes a communicative approach? You can share your thoughts in the chat. Go right ahead. Hello, those of you who are saying hi in the chat. Thank you, Paul, for being here. Thank you, Mayuri. Please let us know, what is your definition or your perspective, your idea of what a communicative approach means? Share in the chat. We can share ideas together in the YouTube chat. So what is a communicative approach? I mean, we know it has communication involved somehow, right? So the focus is communication, but what else? Share your ideas, because we have all different perspectives, I think, from different places. Essentially, we have to consider a communicative approach that is an approach that is focused on communication, right? Yes, it's focused on communication, yeah? So that means that accuracy is secondary. That means that we, in a communicative approach, we're not obsessed with correcting all of the errors that our students make and making them conjugate verbs perfectly and everything. Because guess what? When we listen to little kids speaking in their native language, they also commit errors when they speak. When they're developing linguistically, they commit errors, right? In Spanish, for example, it's very common to hear a little child in Peru, in Ecuador, in Argentina, wherever, say something like, "Mira, papi, me poní los zapatos," right? Okay. Obviously the verb is "me puse los zapatos," right? But we understand the child perfectly. We can exactly, yes, I like the answer from Isabel, to use the language to get and transmit messages. That's what we're talking about. Because when we understand messages and we transmit messages, then we acquire a language, right? So we have to keep this in mind. We need to remember what a communicative approach is so that we can center teaching the 4 skills within a communicative approach, okay? So let's take a look. Developing the 4 skills is separate from developing the implicit linguistic system, right? What is an implicit linguistic system? An implicit linguistic system is developed over years, right, of comprehensible input in the language. We develop a system in our brains linguistically that becomes second nature, implicit, right? That system is developed through comprehensible input, but that system is separate from actually developing the skill of reading in English or developing the skill of writing in English or speaking or listening, okay? Okay. Before, in the old days, we used to talk about 2 classifications, general classifications of the types of skills, right? We used to call them passive versus active skills. Maybe some of you learned this terminology before in your studies. But nowadays, we don't use these terms as much anymore because all 4 of the skills are actually active, because our students, the learners, need to be actively participating somehow when they are doing each one of the skills. If they're working on the skill of listening, it's not simply them sitting there like this, right? They have to pay attention, they have to focus, they have to comprehend, right? So we've replaced these terminologies with receptive skills and productive skills, yeah? With receptive skills, we can see listening and reading. This is when students receive the target language and must process meaningful messages in the target language, right? They have to comprehend what the people are actually saying or what the text says, right? And then the productive skills then are speaking and writing, where students must produce the target language and communicate messages with it. Not simply copying sentences, not simply filling in blanks, but communicating something, either orally or written, right? Okay, so that brings us to our first skill of listening. In listening, I think maybe you teachers will agree, and you can comment in the chat. Listening is one of the skills that really stresses our students out, right? And I know when I've taught English before, even at university level, the students get very stressed with listening. Yeah. Why do you think that is? You can comment in the chat. Why does listening make students so nervous? We can think about that. Go ahead and comment your thoughts in the chat. When we develop a listening activity, if you think about your experiences as language students, how many times did a teacher say, okay, we're going to do a listening. Ready? Here's the recording. And that's it, right? This is very common, except that is not the best way to do listening, because we need to frame the listening activity with some type of context, right? That's why we have pre-listening activities. And what can we use as pre-listening activities? We have several options. Why do we use pre-listening activities? Because we need to activate what we call schemata. What are schemata? This is a plural word, schemata. Schema is one, schemata is plural, right? So what is schemata? This is the background information that we already have about X topic, whatever topic we're going to do the listening about, right? It's very important that we activate the schemata in the students' brains so that they can contextualize the listening better, so that they're ready to receive it better, right? So let's use an example. I'm going to use it for listening and for reading. Let's use an example that I'm going to do a listening about, I don't know, in U.S. Independence Day, okay? You all know when U.S. Independence Day is, the 4th of July. So we're going to do a listening about the 4th of July. Okay, how can I activate schemata? I can use different types of activities, but I can use the students' culture as well. I know that in Peru, since this is in Piura, in Peru, your Independence Day is July 28th, right? So we can have students discuss what types of traditions or customs are popular for July 28th in Peru, because that's Independence Day in Peru. Independence Day in Peru is probably not celebrated exactly the same way as Independence Day in the United States, but at least we can get some context that students can connect the listening to, right? In Ecuador, where I live in Quito, Independence Day is August 10th. So if I do a listening with the students here in Ecuador about Independence Day, we can talk about what happens el 10 de agosto, which is Independence Day for Ecuador. You see, so we can relate it in that way, using matching activities, putting things in order, open-ended questions. We can do class discussions. We can gloss vocabulary, which means if there's vocabulary we anticipate will be difficult for our students, we can preview the vocabulary and see if they have an idea, more or less, of what the words mean. We can use true, false. We can use a lot of different things, yeah? Since we just saw an amazing presentation on using AI, we can use AI to help us create a pre-listening activity, right? AI still is not 100% perfect, obviously, and we have to have good skills to program it in order for it to create something that's really effective, but we can incorporate AI to help us with pre-listening. In any case, it's very important to contextualize the listening that we're going to do, yeah? While listening, we can talk about like listening comprehension and things like that. I'm guessing a lot of you have your students actually read the questions first before they do the listening. This is a good strategy so that the students already know what they will be listening for specifically, right? A lot of times teachers say, how many times should I play the audio? What do you teachers think? You can put in the chat. In your classroom, when you have a listening activity, how many times do you play the audio for the students? How many times? Usually I hear teachers say 2 times. Twice I play the audio, right? This really depends on your own teaching style, your own personality, because we teach who we are, right? So it has to do with our personality and what your purpose is. Because in real life, when we have real life listening situations, when they are collaborative, when I can participate in it, I can usually ask the person, could you please repeat that? Can you say it in a different way? I didn't quite understand you, etc. Right? Maybe we should have patience with our students with the skill of listening, because if they are allowed to listen to the recording maybe 3 times or 4 times, maybe they will feel more relaxed and less anxious that they have to understand everything the first time. You see? It depends. It depends on what your purpose is, what you're working on. If your students are not paying attention to the listening, then you don't need to play it 5 times, because they also need to put in the effort, right? But if they're paying attention, maybe you should consider playing it 1 more time, an extra time, right? Determine your focus. We can do listening activities where we incorporate grammar in the listening activity. I can do a conversation between 2 people who have been studying at the university for 2 semesters, and all of the things that they have been doing. So I can practice the present perfect continuous with the listening, right? I can give my students input through the listening, yeah? Or am I focusing on strictly the skill of comprehension? Do I want them to just understand the listening, yeah? Okay, after listening, there's a notion that in some cases, we may want to consider asking the questions for the listening comprehension in the first language. L1 means first language, right? In the first language of the students. Now let's think about this. Why would we use Spanish to ask questions about the listening that they did in English? Maybe you have some thoughts you can share in the chat. Why would we use Spanish to ask listening comprehension questions about English? Well, if we really want to isolate the skill of listening, really isolate just listening and not involve any of the other skills, we may want to do the questions in their native language, because then we know that the students definitely understand the question, right? If we ask the listening questions in English, maybe the student understood the audio, but maybe their problem is comprehending the questions that are written in English, you see? So then maybe it's not a problem with listening, it's a problem with reading comprehension, yeah? So it's possible, especially at the lower levels, to ask comprehension questions in Spanish in the case of Peru, right? In the students L1. It's possible. It's possible. But that, again, that is your determination, right? And what types of activities can we use? True, false, multiple choice. I'm sure you've seen all of this, fill in the blanks, etc. But it's very important that whatever type of question we decide to use, that we do not copy the words exactly the way that they are in the audio, because then students will simply focus on, what did I hear? What was the phrase I heard? Oh, I heard this exact sentence, so the answer is this. No, we have to rephrase the questions so that they're not word for word, verbatim, like we say, right, as they are in the listening, so that they can't simply copy, yeah? Okay. Thank you, Jose, for your comment. Yes, it depends on every teacher. That's good. You play it 3 times. Okay, and you make it more challenging to advance. Sure, right. That's your call, right? And then there's another step I would like to propose, right, beyond simple listening comprehension. Okay, my students understood the listening. They got the true, false questions right. Let's move on. Maybe not. Wait a minute. Maybe we can take the content of the listening, right, and we can relate it somehow to the students' lives or to the students' experiences, etc. Right? It's taking the listening content a step further. We all know Bloom's taxonomy, yeah, and those levels. Yeah, so we can take it a level or 2 further in Bloom's taxonomy and have students synthesize or have them do something else with the listening. So if the listening was about Independence Day, like I mentioned, we can have students, for example, do a Venn diagram. After they've done listening comprehension, we could say, okay, now compare Peru's Independence Day, July 28th, with the United States Independence Day, July 4th. what's different, right? And in the middle, put what's the same. Yeah. Or we can ask them, would you like to celebrate the 4th of July in the US? Does that sound interesting to you? Does it sound fun? Yes, no, why not, etc. Yeah. This is a step further, right? It's called the assimilation phase. It's taking the content and connecting it kind of like with what we talked about in the pre-listening. Yeah. So this is a good idea. Okay. Speaking, listening and speaking go hand in hand. Reading and writing go hand in hand, right? Okay. Before we talk about how to work with speaking, it's super, super important, the first phrase that I have on the screen that says, be careful not to make students produce too early. I bet you that if we did a survey of our students, speaking is the skill that makes them the most nervous, followed by listening, and then reading and writing, I think, because obviously, speaking is a lot of pressure on them to produce the target language, yeah? And a lot of times we make the mistake as teachers to say, okay, here's a new grammar form. Now, say 5 sentences using this new form. Oh. They were just exposed to it for the first time. They're not ready for that yet, right? Dr. Krashen says that there should be a silent period also in second language acquisition. Just like in first language acquisition, when we have the little kids don't start speaking right away. They take several months to absorb the language that they're surrounded by, right? And then they start understanding the language first. And they start developing their little tiny implicit linguistic system. And then, not until after a year old, do they start producing 1 word and then maybe 2 words, right? And then they move on to other stages of linguistic development. But we're making our students produce so quickly and so much. And if we make them produce beyond their linguistic capacity, this is what causes a lot of anxiety for our learners. They say, I don't know English well enough yet to speak it, right? Okay, the more you listen to English, the better speaker you will become. Our brains are naturally equipped with the capacity to acquire any language in the world, as long as we are exposed to comprehensible input in that language, right? So the more we can expose our learners to real English that they process messages of or something like that, the better speakers they're going to eventually become. Our brain naturally starts parsing the language into comprehensible pieces. It starts understanding the prosody of language, which is the rise and fall, the melody of language, how it sounds. Our brain starts becoming accustomed to that. Yeah. And then later we can become better speakers from that, right? I remember when I first took Spanish, this was when I was 12 years old. I grew up in Chicago in the United States, right? So in my first Spanish class, when I was 12 years old, our Spanish teacher told us that we had to watch and listen to an hour of Spanish TV every week. And in Chicago at that time, we had 4 channels on normal television, not cable, just regular TV in Spanish, right? It was like Univision, Telefutura, Telemundo, and Gamavisión. It was mostly Mexican. Yeah. So every Saturday, I'm sure some of you remember this show, every Saturday I would watch Don Francisco and Sábado Gigante. Every single Saturday, I watched El Chacal and all of those things on Sábado Gigante. And at first, I did not understand anything, like maybe 2% of the Spanish that I was listening to. But little by little, my brain started magically processing more and more of it. And I started to understand. And it was amazing, right? And then later, the more exposure I got to hearing Spanish, the more I understood the melody of Spanish, the accents in Spanish, all that stuff, right? And the better I could produce it. So this is the case, right? Also remember that the focus is communicating messages. How important is perfect grammar and pronunciation when we're speaking? If we have a class debate with our students, and they're debating, for example, the cost of university education. Yeah, they're high school students and they're thinking of university and they're debating this topic. Do you think it's really fair to focus on every single little detail of their English? Maybe not, right? If their purpose is to construct an argument in English and they can express their ideas and they can present their argument and counter argument, and they have a few errors in prepositions or something like that, it's okay, because we are in a communicative approach framework, right? So errors become secondary. And we have to be very careful about how we correct our errors in speaking, yeah, which is another story. Okay, I'd like you to comment in the chat on this particular question here in the middle of the screen. It says, what about role plays and prepared speeches? What do you think about these types of activities to work with the skill of speaking? I'd like to see what you guys think. You can go ahead and continue to comment in the chat, please. What do you think about using role plays and prepared speeches? Okay, as you think about your opinion, I'm sure that many teachers we have used at some point, and I include myself, we have used the role plays, right? Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you, Isabel, about the more input we provide to our students, the better output we get from them. Yes, and it has to be quality input as well. Yes. Okay. We've all used role plays at some point, either as students of a foreign language or as teachers, right? But I invite you to think about how role plays actually work. Normally, what teachers do is they send students to write a dialogue, write a dialogue, which is not speaking, it's the skill of writing, right? To write a dialogue, yeah. And then what happens? Normally they go home at night, the students memorize that dialogue, and then the next day they go to class and they present the dialogue in front of the class. Yeah. How many times has it happened to you, when you were students, that you prepared your dialogue, you memorized it, and then when you got up in front of the class, you had like a brain freeze, you went blank. Like you just could not remember the next line of your dialogue. Your memory failed you. Does that mean you can't speak English? Does that mean you are absolutely not fluent in English? Not necessarily, right? When we make students write dialogues, first of all, it's written. Yeah, so that gives them the chance to correct things, to rewrite things. It's written. Yeah, and then when they memorize it, it's not spontaneous. It's very scripted, it's very planned and everything like that. And it's artificial. It's very artificial. Even though, yes, it's like an actual context, maybe of a doctor and a patient or something, it's still quite artificial. Prepared speeches are also similar. You can write the whole speech and then you memorize it, right? Yes, we can listen to their pronunciation and everything like that, but it's something that you memorize. And if your memory fails you, then it looks like you have a problem with speaking, but you don't, right? Plus, let's think about something else. I imagine that in Peru, like in Ecuador and similar also in the United States, at some point during school, you had to memorize some document or some part of a document. In the United States, when I was 13 years old, I had to memorize the preamble to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. When I was 13. Today, many years later, I can still tell you what I memorized. I can still say all of that to you. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, blah, 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 etc. Yeah? So what? When I was 13, I did not understand half of what the preamble to the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence said. I did not understand half of it, and it was in my native language. But I didn't process the whole meaning of it, what it actually meant. I just had to memorize it, and then I had to say it to the teacher. But that didn't mean that I was actually understanding what I was saying. You see what I mean? So we have to be very careful, and we have to be sure that we are making students process meaning and communicate something when they're producing language, right? When they actually say something that they understand. Yeah? Okay. Pronunciation pronunciation is a skill that improves with practice. This is not the case with everything in language. If I practice all of the irregular simple pasts in English in alphabetical order, I don't get better at communicating in the past in English. No. I can memorize all of those verbs in alphabetical order, but that does not mean that I can communicate using those verbs. No, I can just tell you the list, right? However, in the case of pronunciation, this is a physical skill. Yeah, it's a physical skill. So when it's a physical skill, that means that there's muscles, there's movement involved, right? That's why I put in parentheses muscle memory. Think right now, and you can share in the chat also, what is a sound? What is a sound, or if you want to be technical, what is a phoneme that exists in English that doesn't exist in Spanish and that is difficult for you or your students to produce? What is a phoneme that is difficult for you or your students to produce in English? Precisely because it doesn't exist in Spanish. I can give you an example from Spanish for me. So when we gringuitos were learning Spanish when I was 12 years old in our Spanish class, we had such a difficult time producing the vibrante múltiple that it's called in Spanish, which is the double R sound, right? It's written as a double R, or at the beginning of a word, it's a single R, but it makes the multiple sound, right? So like, for example, carro, rosa, etc. That was so hard for us to produce because we don't have that sound in English, right? So our whole class would practice with the teacher, and she'd say, no, it's like this, miren, and we were all saying blah, 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 blah. Like we couldn't do it. It was very entertaining. But at the same time, approximately, there was a commercial on TV, and the commercial was for Ruffles potato chips, right? Rufles, as they're called in Spanish, at least in Ecuador. And the slogan for those potato chips were, Ruffles have ridges, like, you know how Ruffles have those little bumps. And this sound that was in the slogan was very creative because it sounds like your tires of your car when you go over bumps when there's a toll, peaje, right? And so it sounds like that. Yeah. So you had all of these gringuitos who were trying to say ruffles have ridges, but we practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. And a lot of us were able to produce the sound. Yeah. So the more we practice that sound, the better we become at producing that sound. You see, because pronunciation is a physical skill. So we can repeat and repeat and repeat and try the sound again and again and again, and eventually we'll get it. Yeah. So repetition and practice with pronunciation is okay. Yes. Remember that speaking scenarios should simulate real communicative interaction as much as possible. So in large part, they should be spontaneous, which is what we were talking about with dialogues before and role plays. We can do role plays. It's okay. We can give them a context, say, okay, get in partners. One of you is the doctor, one is the patient. But in this case, you have 5 minutes to think of what you're going to talk about, just to get a general idea, some ideas. Okay, I can have a broken leg, and then you can say, okay, I'm going to take an x-ray. Okay, it's broken. We're going to put on a cast, etc. Right? But they have like just a few minutes to prepare their ideas, not to write out the dialogue word for word, but to get some ideas generated for the dialogue. And then right away, they have a conversation. You see, this is much more spontaneous than if we make them write the role play and then we have them perform it the next day in class. Okay? There's so much more to say about speaking, but we just don't have time to get through everything. So I'm going to have to move on to reading. Okay, reading is very difficult to get our students to do because, at least in the context of Ecuador, and I think it might be similar in Peru, students don't like to read. A lot of times they don't like to read because the topics that we use for the reading are not fun for them. Yeah, they don't like it. They don't like them. So if we can find readings that are interesting for our students, then we're better off. And guess what? We can use AI to also generate readings for our students. We can use AI I can tell AI, even ChatGPT, which is the most commonly used one that many teachers are familiar with, even ChatGPT can do this. Create a short reading of approximately 150 words about, for example, I don't know, something that they're interested in, a famous YouTuber in Canada, right? Fine. If they like YouTubers, it's fine. Let's create a reading about a YouTuber. Suddenly they're more interested, right? Yeah. Also, if you find a reading that you like on the internet, you say, oh, this is really good, but the language level is too difficult for my students, I can ask AI to also simplify the reading. I give the instruction of simplify this reading to an A2 level of English on the Common European Framework of Reference, and I copy and paste the reading in, and AI gives me a simplified version of the reading. Yeah? Hello, Carlos. Nice to see you again. Yes. Okay. So we can use AI in that way, and it's ethical, and it's okay to do that. Yeah, it's okay. If we're following rules and we want to be ethical professionals, we can use AI in that way. Okay. Reading is a lot like listening in the sense that since these are receptive skills, we need to start with a pre-reading activity. Again, the same purpose to activate those schemata, right? The background that we already have about the particular topic that we're going to read about. We can do this in groups. We can do this as a class discussion. If you have very big classes, like in the case of Ecuador public schools, there are 50, 60 students per class. Divide them into small groups, have them do some pre-reading, brainstorming activities together in small groups, right? We can do the same types of activities for pre-reading that we did for pre-listening, yeah? Okay, while reading, we can have students read the comprehension items before they do the reading, right? And here I want to clarify the definition of comprehension. Comprehension is not just understanding the text. No, comprehension is actually connecting new information from the text to information that we already have in our schemata. Yeah? So comprehension goes beyond simply understanding the words in a text in English. It's making that connection between what we have already and what we're getting new. Yeah? Determine your focus. Do you want to work on reading comprehension? Do you want to develop a sub-skill of reading? For example, like skimming, scanning, vocabulary. Do you want to focus on specific vocabulary that's related to nature, for example? Do you want them to focus on grammar? Because we can also do a reading where we have a certain grammar structure that's repeated throughout the reading. Yeah, so you have to determine what your focus is, okay? I want to give you a parentheses here, a couple of ideas that you can use if you decide to do reading out loud with your class. If you want to read a text together in the classroom, a lot of times teachers will say, okay, first person you, and then you're next, and then you, and go down the rows, right? But we have other techniques that we can use that engage students a little bit more in the reading, yeah? Some of these, you have to determine if your students would be comfortable with doing some of these techniques because it depends on the classroom dynamic. As you teachers know, sometimes we have classes that are very outgoing, extroverted, very enthusiastic, and other times we have classes that are more introverted, shy, quiet, timid, afraid to do anything with English, right? So you have to know the personality of your class and what works with your class. But here are two ideas, yeah? One of them is called popcorn reading, and the other is called spirit reading. Popcorn reading is just a fun name, yeah? It's just to be fun. Is when someone starts reading, I can start as the teacher, and I could read one sentence or two sentences, and then I can say, okay, popcorn Silvia, and then it's Silvia's turn to read. And then Silvia reads, and she reads a couple sentences, as much as she wants, or a paragraph. And then Silvia stops, and Silvia says, popcorn Raúl, right? And so the students are the ones who are controlling who's going to read next. It's very simple to use this technique, but it makes the students pay more attention to what's going on in the classroom, and they're more engaged in the whole process. And it's funny because depending on the age, like I don't know, maybe by 12, 13, 14, is like they say whoever they choose in popcorn reading is their crush. And so then the whole class, like it's really like, it makes them really engaged, right? The other alternative that we can use is called spirit reading. So spirit reading is this idea that there is a spirit of reading, right? Just a spirit. Yeah. That is, you can't see the spirit because it's a spirit, right? But it floats around the classroom. Yeah. And I tell the students, guys, listen, today there's a spirit in our classroom. And the students say, okay, yeah. And listen, so right now the spirit is with me. Yeah. He's right here. I could feel him. But pretty soon the spirit's going to move. And you have to pay attention to where the spirit goes. Yeah. Because maybe it's going to visit one of you, and that means it's your turn to read. So I start reading, and when I feel like stopping, I stop. Yeah, I stop, and then I'm quiet. And normally the students all look at each other and they laugh, but then normally someone starts to read automatically. Yeah, someone else continues without saying anyone's name, nothing. It's silent. Someone continues to read, right? And if no one continues and there's no one who is reading in the class, I say, oh, Maria, oh my gosh, the spirit, it's right behind you. Don't you feel it? It's your turn. Yeah. And so then I have Maria read. Yeah. So this is another idea of how to engage students more in reading instead of them counting, okay, I'm the 8th paragraph, so I'm going to practice reading it in my head, blah, blah, blah. No. Yeah. All right. For post-reading, we also can consider doing comprehension questions in the first language. Again, if we want to isolate the skill of reading comprehension from that text, when our students have to answer in English, for example, they might have problems with written expression in English. So maybe we can allow them to answer in Spanish if it's a short answer question. Yeah, this is translanguaging. It's switching between languages in the classroom, and it's becoming a more and more accepted practice. I'm not advocating for using Spanish 50% and English 50%. No, but for strategic moments like this, if you think your students cannot write well enough in English to express their answers to a question, maybe you can have them answer that question in Spanish, because then you're isolating the skill of reading comprehension. Yeah. Again, we can do similar types of activities like true, false, multiple choice, fill in blanks, short answers, etc. And then again, we can take it a step further to an assimilation activity where we have them connect the content with something else in their lives, right? They did a reading about this topic, now connect it to what you've experienced in different ways. We can have them, if they do a reading of a short story, of a fictional story, we can have them write the sequel. Yeah, they can write a short sequel to the story. What happens to each character? Obviously, we can only do this with students who are capable of doing that in English. If our students cannot write a short story in English, we can't ask them to do that because that's too much for them, right? But something that's appropriate for their level is okay. All right, let's continue because we're going to run out of time. On to the last skill of writing, yeah? To be a better writer, read more. This is a given in our native language, in the second language, in all languages. The more we read, the better writers we become because we get exposed to different genres of writing, how prose is created, and we acquire a lot of vocabulary from reading, a lot. In fact, nowadays, topic for another talk, we can use GSSR, guided self-selected reading, as a very good way to acquire a second language. Reading simple books in that language has been shown to be a very, very effective way of acquiring a second language. But that's a topic for another talk. Okay. Writing does not take place in a vacuum. What do we mean by this? Writing is a type of conversation. Yeah, it's a lot of times we don't realize that there's going to be someone who's going to read our writing. Yeah, so we have to think of writing as a conversation in written form. Even if it's a monologue, there's still going to be an audience. And yes, it's your English teacher, yes, but a lot of times we can create a prompt using artificial intelligence too, if we want, that involves a different type of audience. Like what, for example? Okay, we can take a look at the rhetorical problem. The rhetorical problem This is something a lot of times teachers don't take into consideration, but it's fundamental for writing. The rhetorical problem includes several components: a purpose. Why am I writing this? To convince someone, to inform someone, to ask for something? What is my purpose of writing? Yeah. What is the likely audience? Who would read this? Is it a letter of suggestions to the principal for school or to the mayor of my town? Or is it a letter of complaint to the landlord of my apartment that I'm renting? Or, right, who is my likely audience? The topic, obviously the topic. The writer's knowledge of the topic. Sometimes we have a lot of background knowledge on the topic, sometimes we don't. And the writer's own goals in writing. In other words, my students, do they want to really focus on, writing more in a higher register, for example, or including all the new vocabulary, or what the focus is? Yeah. Obviously, we have a planning phase where we generate ideas, organize ideas, set goals, content and procedures by accessing their knowledge of the topic. We have a revision phase. We shouldn't simply just write once and then be done. Right? For most of the writing that we do in class, we should have at least 2 versions of the writing. And this brings us to a really important point, which is when or if to include peer review. You guys can comment again on the chat, share your own experiences with your writing assignments with your students. Have you included peer review? Meaning, have your students exchanged their papers with each other and evaluated each other? Have you done that? And in what part of the process should we include a peer review? Okay, let's imagine that I'm teaching students with a B1 level, high school students with B1, okay? And I have them write a letter to the principal to suggest improvements in their school, okay? Yeah, so I have them write a 1-page letter, let's say, yes. And I'm going to obviously look at it. It's going to be a draft, right? So that I can give them suggestions and things like that. And yeah, so they can fix it. Okay. When should I involve their classmates? Should they be involved after I see the first draft as the teacher? Or should I involve the classmates before I see the first draft? What do you guys think? You can also respond in the chat. What do you think? Should peer review be involved before the teacher sees the draft or after the teacher sees the draft? Simple logic will tell you the answer to this question. Yeah. The answer is before I see the draft. Why? Well, in theory, who knows more about writing in English? Who knows more about the English language and writing in English? In theory, it's the teacher, right? So if I look at the draft before the classmates do, and I already make some kind of annotations or suggestions or whatever, and then the student incorporates that, and then they give it to their peer, what is the peer going to say? The peer is going to say, yes, está bien. Like the teacher already looked at it. It's fine. I don't need to do anything, right? And that's not cool. So in that case, it's better that the students are involved with each other first. That's the first step, because they're all equals. Yes, there are some who are better, but for the most part, they're all at the same level, right? How to grade is also a very difficult topic to address because research tells us that overt error correction, both in speaking and in writing, does not stick long term. In other words, I can correct as much as I want in my students' writing, but that doesn't mean that they're going to retain this long term. And that's a lot of work for us as teachers to do all that correction when the students aren't going to absorb that over time, right? They'll see it on their paper. They say, oh yeah, I made that. Oh yeah, that's wrong. Okay, yeah, got it. But that doesn't stay with them in the future, right? I used to use a technique when I taught Spanish, because I taught Spanish in Chicago, to Latino students who spoke Spanish, but they didn't know how to write Spanish quite well because they were never schooled in Spanish. So they had a lot of spelling errors, punctuation, etc., like accent marks, right? And I had like a color system where pink was an accent mark, yellow was spelling, green was Spanglish, blue was verb form, and purple was miscellaneous. So I had highlighters, and on their drafts, I would highlight the words or the phrases with the different colors according to the mistake or error they made, right? And they liked this because it was colorful. It looked like a rainbow. So it was nicer to work with than red ink, right? And at the same time, it gave a holistic perspective. In other words, if a student looks at the paper and they say, oh my gosh, it's all yellow, I have a big problem with spelling. I need to work on my spelling, right? Or, oh my gosh, it's all blue. Wow, my verbs are all messed up, right? So they can have a better idea of where they need to focus specifically on the language from a visual perspective, right? But we don't want to correct every single error and give them the right answer, because that doesn't make them go through the process of reflecting on their own errors. So whatever system we use, we want to make sure that they reflect on their own errors, right? And then, of course, the final draft, is it really final? You know, is that the end? Can we encourage them to submit that to some, I don't know, some magazine or something like that? Can we encourage them to do something else with that? Yeah, that depends on you. Okay. We're almost finishing up here. Just remember that developing the 4 skills, as well as language acquisition in general, is a very dynamic yet very long and slow process. In other words, have patience with your students and put communication first. Any activity that you do in class with the 4 skills, or with grammar, or with vocabulary, you should always ask yourselves, teachers, do my students need to process meaning to do this activity? Do they need to process meaning? Do they need to communicate something meaningful in this activity? If they don't, if the answer is no, we don't use the activity, because it's not helping with their acquisition. And this is not me saying this. This is 50 years of scientific research. We have to be sure that every activity we do in the classroom forces students to process meaning. Yeah? Okay. And as I've mentioned throughout this presentation, we can use AI, to help us develop writing prompts, to help us develop readings, to help us develop questions for readings, all that stuff. But AI is not foolproof. It's not perfect. Yeah. So we always need to look over things. Say, this isn't quite right. We need to fix this. This won't work with my students. Don't trust AI 100%, because it's not 100%, at least not yet. We'll see in the future. Okay. Finishing up, this is the last slide. I just want to mention very briefly on evaluating the skills. One time I had a teacher ask me that how do we develop a rubric for listening? And I said, yeah, that's a good question, because how would a rubric for listening look like? I would have a category of, did you understand the listening? Okay, and then what? We don't use rubrics for listening and reading for the most part, right? Listening and reading can be evaluated through comprehension questions like the ones we've mentioned before: true, false, multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank, things like that. Yeah. Speaking and writing evaluations can be done using a rubric. And a word about rubrics. Rubrics should not be the same for every task. They should reflect the teacher's focus and the genre of the activity being carried out. In other words, if I'm evaluating a poem that my students wrote, I'm not going to use the same writing rubric as if I evaluate a persuasive essay, because the purpose of the writing is different. Remember the rhetorical problem. The purpose of the writing is different, so I don't want to evaluate them in the same way. We can have categories that are worth more or less points as well, right? I don't need to give every category this 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. No, I can make content 5 points. I make grammar 2 points. Yeah, it depends on my focus. What do I want students to do with the writing or with the speaking activity? We can also use AI to generate rubrics. Yes, but we have to be, the thing about AI in general, like the presentation mentioned before, but also applied to the 4 skills, is that we have to be very good programmers. We have to be very specific in our instructions with all the information we can possibly give AI. Who it's for, what age, what level of English, what is our purpose. We can include the whole rhetorical problem in the writing, right? I want this to be a letter to a principal, this, create the writing prompt. And it can do that for you, but you need to know what you want it to create, right? So for that, we need to be very good programmers with AI. Okay. That brings us to the end of the presentation for today. So I really appreciate all of your attention. If you're still with us at this time of night on a Friday, congratulations. If you have any questions or any comments or any thoughts, anything you would like to share, any doubts, yes, please go ahead and share them. Yes, Lourdes, I agree that, students want to speak quick, but they are afraid. It's okay. We have to also be very positive. Any effort that they make to produce something in the target language, we have to encourage them, right? We have to be very careful about how we correct errors in speaking, especially in speaking, because we can cause students to never want to speak again. So we have to be very careful of that. Yes. If there are any other questions or comments or anything, okay, what is the best strategy for students to speak English? I think, Marjorie, I think that it's very important to create a very comfortable environment in your classroom where your students feel, and here I'm going to use the Spanish word because the Spanish word is perfect, where they feel the confianza, There's no English equivalent. There's no perfect English word for confianza. If your students feel that confianza, that sense of security and trust and buena onda and all that stuff, right? If they feel that in your classroom, I think your students will be more likely to want to speak English. Those of you who know more about Dr. Krashen also has talked to us about the affective filter, right? This is this barrier it's a psychological construct, right? That if they have high anxiety, low motivation, high stress, there's this barrier in their brains, and no matter how much good input we give them, it's not going to penetrate their brains. So we as teachers need to work on lowering that barrier so that they feel comfortable. And the way to do that is to create a comfortable environment in a low anxiety environment. That's why the way we correct our students when they speak is super important. For example, if some student says, oh, this is true, this happened to me once. They said, where are you from? I said, Chicago. They said, oh, I love Chicago. The people is so nice. People is, right? We know that in English, people is plural. It's people are, yeah? But if I, as the teacher, if I say to them, it's not people is, it's people are. We've talked about this before. Are. People is plural. You think that student's going to want to open their mouth again? Probably not, right? So it's really important that we choose a way of correcting them that's non-invasive. You can write down some notes about the things that you hear them say if you want to comment them at the end of class. I understood the message. People is nice. I understand that perfectly. Is it correct English grammar according to the prescriptive rules? No, but I understood the message, right? So if we create an environment that's in our hands, we can do that. Now, I have another idea for a class. I'm sure you guys have had that, a class where it's just they don't talk. They just do not talk, either because they're very shy or they don't feel like participating or whatever, but they're capable of talking. Let's say B2 level of English. They can have a conversation, right? Okay, but they're not participating. They just, nothing. There's a little kind of activity that will take you literally 5 minutes maximum in one of your classes that will create empathy in them, right? So here's what you can do. If you have a class that will not talk but is capable of talking, you can put them in pairs and you say, okay, everybody, you're in pairs. Yeah. One of you is person A and one is person B. Okay. Yeah. Good. You decided who's who. Perfect. Okay. Person A, for 1 minute, you're going to speak to person B about anything you want, about your day today, about your favorite things, about school, about el chisme, whatever you want to talk about, right? You talk for a minute. Person B, you sit there and you're absolutely silent. You say nothing. Absolutely no. No, nothing. Like a statue, right? So person A talks to person B and you time 1 minute. When they finish, you switch roles. Then you say to, okay, person B, now you are the person that talks for a minute and person A is a statue. Nothing. You hear nothing. Okay, good. Yeah. And then at the end of that experience, you ask them, how did you feel when you were the person speaking? And I promise you that the students will say, it was horrible, teacher. I suffered. It was awful. I hated it. The other person didn't care. They were just sitting there. They didn't do. Okay. Yes, you remember that feeling? Okay, now take that feeling that you had, that you felt. I know it's horrible because I experienced that. Multiply that feeling. You had one person in front of you, right? I have 30. So multiply that feeling by 30, and you spoke for 1 minute, right? And our class is 50 minutes. So multiply that by 50. And that's the sensation that I have when you guys don't respond to me, when you guys don't say anything when I ask questions, right? And you say it in a nice way and smiling and everything like that, not condescending, but gentle, right? I promise you that this will create empathy in your students, because I've had to do it several times and it has worked every time. Because when the students feel what it's like to not be responded to, they know how that feels inside of them. They have more empathy for you as the teacher. And usually that will change your class dynamic. They will become more participatory. They will become more active in the classroom, as long as you created a comfortable environment. So that's an idea if you have a class that really doesn't speak, but they can speak English. Yeah, be careful, because if they can't speak English yet, we can't force them. But if they can speak, they have a good B2 level, we can use this type of activity. Okay? Yeah. Okay. If there are no other questions, oh my gosh. Okay, let me take a look. What can we do when a student mixes the pronunciation of the American and British English? Okay. If we look at this question from a communicative framework, it doesn't matter if they use British English or American English, or they mix both of them. It does not matter. If I can understand the message that they're communicating to me, I don't think we need to correct them. Why do we need to force students to adapt one accent or the other? Yes, we normally teach in the classroom using a dialect of English, either American English or British English. But if a student has input from both dialects, I mean, we're talking about general dialects here, because within American English, obviously we have a lot of varieties. But if they have exposure to both, and their production also involves both, do we really need to correct them there? I don't think so. I mean, if a student says car and then they say car, but I can understand them, I don't think there's any reason to correct them. If we want them to develop a specific accent, which I personally don't think is necessary, but if we want them to do that, then we would have to provide them with input essentially all in that particular accent. And I don't know how realistic that is all the time. So that would be my response to that question. Okay. How about teaching culture as the fifth skill? Yeah, okay. Culture, yes, unfortunately, we did not have time, and I've already run over my time limit. Culture, I don't know if we can consider it necessarily a skill that's mutually exclusive from all the other skills. I usually think we can deal with culture in all of the 4 skills, right? But especially, obviously, if they're receiving the target culture, they can receive it through listenings and readings. This is a great opportunity to involve culture, yeah? Because culture and language, we can't pull them apart from each other. Yeah, so the example that I gave you during the presentation was for the 4th of July. This is all culture. Yeah, this is all culture, because the Independence Day here in Ecuador, for example, is nothing like the 4th of July in the United States. So we're teaching them culture, but we're doing it through a listening activity, or we're doing it through a reading. And then we can have them write a comparative paragraph, for example, between Peru's Independence Day and the United States Independence Day. Things like that, right? I think culture is absolutely fundamental, yeah, to language teaching, but I think we can do culture through the other skills that we've also looked at. Yeah. Okay, if there are no other questions, I think that would be it for this evening. It's been a pleasure for me to share this time with you. I hope you've learned something valuable, and I really hope that we will see each other again in the future. If you're ever in Quito, you can look me up. Okay, take care, everybody.
Thank you so much, Janine. Those were very useful information and techniques, strategies we have learned today. Okay, we are delighted to invite you to the Teaching Development Conference 2024 live session. It will take place on Saturday, November 23rd from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at IBNA Auditorium in Piura, located on Calle Arequipa 1100. As we wrap up the TDC 2024 Piura virtual session, we want to express our gratitude to all the speakers, consultants, and institutions who have participated. A special thank goes to the international community of English teachers who connected with us to expand their knowledge and to enhance their educational work. We also want to thank the IBNA and SBS Internacional, Librería Internacional teams for their continued support. We would like to remind you that in order to receive your certificate of attendance, you must be registered. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure you register now. We look forward to seeing you at the live session. Goodbye for you now.